Oh, I'm live. Oh, and there, I'm live. Okay, I am live. And I haven't done a video in a little while, and it's been far too long. And I'm not going to get into the update right away. What I'm going to do is get to the book first and do the review, because that's what I've been trying to get finished. So before I lose the light, sorry, just had to push my glasses up. I don't have them handy. I had to move my phone out of the way, or my keyboard and everything out of the way, so I can have this ginormous book in front of me so I can read it. So I'm just going to lift up the book because I didn't last time. The Primal Blueprint. I think you can just see the edge of it. It's the Primal Blueprint, and that's Mark Sisson. This is the new one. I don't know. They might have a revised one. It's new because at the time it was rewritten when I got it, bought it, heard about it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to move my mouse. I got to get my keyboard. God, this book is huge. I won't review big books anymore. I'm kidding. But all right, so let's get to the chapter 3. Oh, okay. So chapter 3, I can get through pretty quickly because it was oh shoot, and this book doesn't stay open very well. Anyways, the chapter 3 is just basically about families, like versus sorry, I didn't realize this was going to be a hassle to open the book. All right, so the book that chapter 2 is called Grok, Grok, and Korg, Korg, which is basically back in front of the same word. And Grok, which is Grok, is primal man, and Korg is modern man. So basically in chapter 2, they describe the differences between modern men and primal man, and all of the things that's different as to how we live, as opposed to how they used to live. So I don't have very many passages in this chapter. It was interesting to see the differences and such, but it didn't have as much, scientific information and stuff like that. So anyway, here we go. My first highlight that I found in this chapter when I was reading it a couple of years back, it said, Matt Ridley, author of The Agile Gene. I will try and pronounce certain things a little more exaggerated, just in case you want to look it up. If you do have any questions about anything that I've said in the video, please comment below and ask, and I will answer them. Thanks. All right, so Matt Ridley, author of The Agile Gene, reports that average brain size in 50,000 BC was 1,567 cc's for males and 1,468 cc's for females. Strange as it may seem, average brain sizes today are 1,248 cc's for males and 1,210 cc's for females, with the onset of the shrinkage closely related to the advent of agriculture. We're learning a lot of things, and I guess I found this passage interesting because it's our brains that we have developed the most. Sure, we've changed a lot since primal man physically, but not really. I mean, the basic hardware inside hasn't changed in the last 50,000 years. Our brains have changed, but what I guess what I found interesting about this, and my same reaction now, I just highlight things and then I remember how I felt about it, but it's just that what are we doing that's reducing the amount of liquid in our craniums and our brains? Like, are we not giving it enough liquid? Certainly people in modern times don't drink a lot of water. I like water, but there's a lot of people that don't, and I've had a few friends that have just started drinking water daily. Sure, they're drinking other liquids, and I mean, it is a form of liquid, but then the reactions of the other things, if it's not water, can be quite detrimental, especially soda, as we know now. So that was an interesting passage in this chapter. I'm just going to quickly buzz through, but it doesn't look like I made a lot of other notes. Again, lifestyle, how we slept, and, you know, the alarm clocks, and, you know, that we use now rather than waking up with the sun. So that had an effect on people's. I'm just flipping through the pages until I get to the next chapter, but I want to make sure that I haven't missed any highlights that I had put in, but it doesn't look like it. So we'll move on to the next chapter because I'm pretty. So yeah, so that was an interesting. I guess that was the only part that was very scientific. The rest was just about how we get up in the morning and how it affects our daily living and, you know, our flight or flight and things like that. But it was just that kind of thing. So I didn't make a whole lot of notes in that chapter. So then we move on to chapter 3. And chapter 3 has a beautiful picture. Each chapter, I think I mentioned in the last video, have gorgeous pictures on each chapter. So chapter 3 is called The Primal Blueprint, Eating Philosophy. Do these genes make me look fat? And of course, genes, G-E-N-E-S. All right. So we'll get to this chapter because I know that there are some things that I flipped through the book just before I started the video. I just didn't know I was going to be going through a wrestling match with it before I got started. And so anyway, so these are things of eating, you know, this talks about how eating low fat, you know, we learned that that was supposed to be the thing. And, you know, it ended up being quite detrimental to us. So here's the first passage from this chapter that I've highlighted. The average person can only store a total of about 400 grams, less than 1 pound, of glycogen in liver and muscle tissue. Even a highly trained athlete can only store perhaps 600 total grams. If you frequently empty your liver and muscle cells of glycogen with brief, intense workouts, frequent low-level movement, and structured aerobic sessions, you become adept at not only burning stored energy, but also replenishing glycogen as well as amino acids, whose metabolism is facilitated by insulin. So that passage is telling me that, you know, your body can only hold so much glycogen, and then you would want to do movement to get rid of it out of your liver and muscle tissue. And then it starts the whole changing of getting your body into getting rid of it and then getting new stuff, which is basically all that Primal does, because we eat with raw ingredients and no processed food, and for myself, no sugar, just because of my blood sugar issues. And so that tells you that, you know, it doesn't take very much to get your body to start doing what it's supposed to be doing. And the glycogen that's in your blood, in your muscles and your liver, you know, it doesn't even really take that much of work to do that. Frequently empty your liver in brief, intense workouts, frequent low-level movement. So it's not like you have to go and kill yourself at the gym, just frequent intense workouts. So I remember reading this somewhere, and I hope I highlighted it somewhere else. But what happens is that you don't want to really actually overtax your body. What happens with exercise, I mean, when we were primal, you know, we weren't worried about exercise because, you know, we were either chasing something or getting chased mostly by something. But what happened is that people would conserve their energy. You know, they, you know, spend their day. And I think the most energy they'd spend is, as I said, you know, hunting live food and getting chased by live food. So that's where the bursts of energy came from. I remember reading it, and I hope, as I said, I hope I highlighted it. But really workouts should be bursts of energy, a little bit of fun, and but not really you know, these long workouts that they have you doing at the gym and everything, because that's very taxing on your body, and we didn't do that much back with Primal. So anyway, so that was an interesting thing. And again, if there's any parts of this book that, you know, I say a word that you're not familiar with, please feel free to comment as well. But I say them so that way you can look at them up for yourself. And so yes, please feel free to ask questions. Anyway, so the next one that I have, insulin inhibits the fat burning enzyme lipase, Lipase. So fat cells can't release their stored energy into the bloodstream, where the fatty acids could be used as fuel. So not only do you store more fat, the fat remains locked in storage. So insulin inhibits the fat burning enzyme. Insulin inhibits the fat burning enzyme, so fat cells can't release their stored energy into the bloodstream, where fatty acids could be used as fuel. Now I'm going to back it up a little bit on here to just see where I was going. Oh yeah, there's a graphic here on the last page, and see, it's a good thing that I have this book open. So I have a graphic here. And when your body is insulin resistant and you're fat, that's because you are inactive and your liver is storing fatty fat in it, and you're eating refined carbs. And so you're insulin resistant, and so your body holds on to fat. Whereas when you're insulin sensitive, but you're also doing muscles and you know, you're moving around so that the glycogen is being released from your muscles, so then your body can reabsorb. And so when you become insulin resistant, you're basically hooping yourself. You're not only by eating refined carbs and sugars, you're basically making your body lock in the fats, and because it's using up the sugar, the carbohydrates, and the refined flour and such in the modern packaged food. And so your body is basically holding on to the fat because they're saying, oh, okay, we're in a time of great abundance, and we have all this sugary and salty stuff that we really crave. See, that's where the primal, where our body hasn't changed a whole lot. So it's craving all of this carbohydrates, and then when you give it all this sugar and everything, so they're like, oh, okay, we don't need, we'll hang on to all the fat that we're storing, and we'll use up this fast burning stuff. So that way, when it's gone, we can use up our fat. But until then, we'll just keep storing fat, and we'll just keep using up the fast sugars. So that's when you kind of hoop yourself. That's where the insulin becomes an issue. And for me, as a person who has diabetes, sadly from other reasons other than my eating habits, you know, where your insulin is produced gets ruined. That's my issue. But now I have to watch my food no matter what, sadly. So insulin resistance, basically, you eat a lot of sugar, your body uses up the fast burning stuff, the easy food, and it stores fat. So it just keeps storing it, use the fast stuff, store it. So you're creating a vicious cycle for yourself by doing that. Whereas if you had done a little bit of exercise, even merely walking would release the glycogen, and then your insulin would work properly, and you wouldn't store fat as much as you would if you just keep eating junk food and sitting around. So that's essentially it. So unfortunately, that's what happens with insulin and your body storing fat. As long as you keep giving it the wrong fuel, then it won't treat it properly, and then you run into a bad cycle. So here's another one. Bear in mind that while it's obviously preferable to mute insulin spikes and crashes, your diet's total insulin production is the most important element to consider. If you're routinely eating excessive carbohydrates, especially in the context of an inactive lifestyle, even if they come from healthy, air quote, sources, you will likely gain weight and increase your risk of developing other associated health problems, including the oxidation and inflammation syndrome that is a major culprit behind heart disease. So that is exactly what I just said, is that you will basically ruin your system inside by continually eating bad food, and unfortunately what you perceive as healthy food. This is where the food industry has got us by the cojones. I won't say the other one because it's more on YouTube, but yes, they've got it because you eat. Here's an example. I was in the store and I went to get some salad topper for my salad. My friend Tara makes amazing salads and she was very inspiring. So I went to get a salad topper, which is basically a lot of nuts for protein and some cranberries and things like that, little crunchies to go in the salad. There was my usual salad toppings weren't available in the bulk section, which is where I usually try and buy my. So I saw a little bag and it said salad toppers, and I looked at it and it looked exactly like what I got out of the bulk that I mixed together myself. Read the ingredients and it has sugar in it. How are we supposed to eat salad and think that we're being healthy and the salad topper has sugar in it? It was very frustrating because, people are trying to make healthy choices and they're just slamming us with sugar everywhere we turn. Sugar and corn syrup, those are the two worst offenders. So that's, like your efforts aren't necessarily bad. I mean, you're trying to lose weight. You're like, oh, I'm not losing any weight. But it's not even just about weight, as far as, eating food and stuff. Like, sure, I mean, we all want to be in an optimal weight, obviously. And I believe by eating the way I do with paleo, that everybody would, level out to where they should be. Anyway, but yeah, you're trying to do something good. And then, so I can't stress enough, read labels. I read everything. Because sure, if it's packaged or, done up right, then for sure, being disabled, anything to make things simpler is a blessing and, helps me out. But when they do stuff like that, that's crazy. So the next highlight that I have, what causes heart disease? Hint, it's oxidation and inflammation, driven primarily by poor food choices, excessive insulin production, and all forms of stress in excess, including over exercising, because that also can cause stress on your body. Like I just said a few minutes ago, we've got ourselves so worked up about worrying about our weight and what we look like that we're not really thinking about what we're doing. And the end result is such a narrow view that we're not really questioning anything that we're doing. So yeah, and then it's not just about weight, it's about what we're putting our bodies through, and then they're reacting the best they can. And it's not always positive, especially in the gym. Not that I'm saying people shouldn't go to the gym, but I think you need to start thinking about why you're going to the gym, why you're needing to do it so vigorously in such a short period of time. Whereas, parking on the other side of the parking lot, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking to the store if it's within a reasonable amount of time. The things like this would help you out much more than going to the gym for an hour and banging it out, because your body's like, oh my God, what are you doing? What happened? Why are we doing this all in an hour and then the rest of the time we're not? So I would suggest starting to look in your own life. And a girlfriend of mine, Phyllis, my bestie, she had an excellent idea. She would put weights around her ankles and her wrists and then just go through the day, because the extra weight would make your body work harder, but not necessarily more stress. It was a good idea. So there. So the next passage I'm reading here, it's about cholesterol. Cholesterol is needed for making the bile acids that allow us to digest and absorb fats. Cholesterol is converted by UVB, Universal Victoria Bob, just in case it's not clear, energy in sunlight into the all-important vitamin D. You can't survive or thrive without cholesterol. See? Which is why your liver actually makes up to 1,400 milligrams a day, regardless of how much food-borne cholesterol you consume or how much you avoid it like the plague in your diet. So this is kind of close to me, because my dad had he's still with us. He moved to Ontario, so that's why anyway, my dad has a cholesterol problem all of his life, hereditary. Now knowing more about food, and unfortunately now it's my dad's 89, so changing his diet now would not be a good idea. And the only reason they made it to 89 is because my parents' food intake was very moderated and very precise. My parents didn't overeat, they didn't overindulge in anything, and we had 3 squares a day. Now again with Primal, we don't talk about 3 meals a day and stuff like that. You eat when you're hungry, and you don't eat a big giant meal, or anyways. So my dad had a bad cholesterol problem, and I have a feeling it was I don't think he should have restricted as many things as he did, or not partake in things. He just had misinformation. It's just the way it goes, as you go longer, you learn more things. Cholesterol, 1,400 milligrams a day, your body's producing cholesterol as it is. My suggestion about cholesterol is finding out what kind of cholesterol, and that you would learn in this book as well. It goes into great detail about cholesterol. Here we have a passage about cholesterol. I will try to make it as least. I won't actually try not to comment too much, because I don't want to get you confused either. Because we all learn in our different. I'm just trying to show you what the book, offers, and it's so much more than what I am talking about here in my videos. But I really, really recommend this book if you're interested in paleo, or even just trying to eat cleanly. All right, so here, cholesterol. I'll just read what I highlighted, and we'll see if it hopefully makes sense to everybody. This distinction matters significantly when it comes to gauging your disease risk. If your blood is host to a party of large, fluffy LDL Larry particles carrying plenty of cholesterol in each lipoprotein, in quotes, vehicle, LDL-C, Larry dash C is in crystal, will actually, sorry, I lost my place here. Vehicle L will tend to be high, especially if your triglycerides are also low. Even if the actual number of LDL particles is in a healthy range. Meanwhile, if your bloodstream is full of small, dense LDL, packing less cholesterol in each lipoprotein, your LDL-C may appear lower, even though the number of particles is dangerously high. In other words, LDL-C can be wildly misleading. Knowing your LDL particle count, whether small or large particles predominate, is more valuable. HDLs, so this is a different lipoprotein. So we've got LDLs, which are the large, fluffy LDL particles. and they're a kind of a vehicle, and the vehicle is the LDLCs. So those are things. And then you got HDLs, which are nature's garbage truck. So those are good ones because they take away things out of your body. And then we have type 2. Oh, okay. So then it goes back to talking about diabetes and the insulin that we've been discussing. So type 2 diabetes all have elevated levels of both triglycerides and small, dense LDL particles. Exercise is one of the cheapest, easiest, and most effective ways to raise HDL. Consuming saturated fat is another. There you go. So you got LDLs. I said I wouldn't get too wordy. And then HDLs are good because they take stuff out of your body. So again, look up LDLs and HDLs. And, you know, try and learn for yourself what this all means and what it helps. But, you know, not all cholesterol is bad. So you really need to educate yourself on cholesterol. I was not familiar with this until I read the book. And then I talked with my doctor about it and got a specific blood test and everything. All right. So the next highlighted passage I have is: a major culprit is a high intake of unstable, high polyunsaturated fats from vegetable oils in the diet. High polyunsaturated fats incorporated into the lipid layer are much more prone to oxidation than are saturated fats. Due to vegetable/seed oils, high temperature processing methods involving toxic chemical solvents. Combined with these oils' extreme sensitivity to heat, light, and oxygen, they are essentially a bottled source of free radicals. Dr. Shanahan, Shanahan, I apologize for butchering your name, asserts that the direct and immediate damage that industrial oils inflict at the cellular level makes them literally no different than eating radiation. Now, there's quite a statement. So just so you know, I'm just going to quickly look back on the page to see what lipids, the lipid layer. Oh, okay. So that's in the LDL, in the cholesterol, I believe. Oh my God, it's been a long time. God, I gotta reread my own book. So yes, that's all part of the cholesterol that we've been talking about. I remember reading about the vegetables, and what happens is all these vegetable oils are chemically made in the sense that they're heated up and changed so that the oil is not as stable. If you can imagine, I think it's coming up in this chapter, but if you can imagine a spine, because that's what they do. That's the book uses that as an example, and I like that because it understood it. So if you can imagine, you know, chemicals have different little makeups, little letters with lines through them. So cold pressed oils like avocado oil, grapeseed oil, MCT oil, which is made from coconuts, they're all pressed and they're not processed. So the oil is in its natural state and also has a higher temperature. It doesn't break down at higher temperatures, whereas oils like sunflower, canola oils, and all the popular cooking oils were all made from chemically made and heated. Although they come from natural sources, I'm not saying that. It's the processing to make them into oil is what makes them dangerous. And so their chemical compounds change. And so their little letters are like kind of all over the place. Whereas the cold press oils that I spoke of, all of their fats are in a single chain, and they're very strong. And so they don't break down, nor do they change. So I guess that's the best way I can describe it, is that cold press oils are more stable and they haven't been chemically changed to make them into oil. So again, we're trying to get away from processed food. So that's what happens with that. So the next, so that's about oils. And so the next passage that I found here is, but a much more sensible and safer option is to simply alter dietary and exercise habits and minimize insulin production, thereby preventing excess accumulation of triglycerides in the blood and allowing the cholesterol system to work as intended. In fact, the combination of low carbs and good fats in primal foods will generally raise HDL and lower both triglycerides and small, dense LDLs. So simply by fixing up your what you're eating alone can help with your cholesterol alone. Exercise certainly would help, and it would defeat the insulin resistance. So here is another passage. A cheaper and more effective anti-inflammatory effect can be achieved for most people by eating foods high in omega-3 or taking fish oil supplements, exercising sensibly instead of chronically, and getting more sleep if you are deprived. Sleep is a big thing. People don't get enough of it. I don't get enough of it. And so that, and the omega-3s, that's just what I explained to you. Omega-3s and fish oils and all the cold press oils, again, are stable because they are in the natural state rather than being changed by heat or chemicals. The next one, I strongly urge you to engage in lifestyle modification. After all, there are no side effects to potential compromises to your drug regime when you improve your diet. So if you improve your food, then you might not need more pills or supplements, which is true actually, because while I've been on paleo, I am able to knock out my glycoside, which is I take glycoside for my blood sugar levels. As soon as I start or I'm following paleo, even if I slip for a day, it doesn't affect my blood sugar nearly as much as had I been eating normally. And even then, like I said, I don't even overeat a whole lot of things, but it builds up over time. So certainly the paleo has leveled out my insulin. And so, as I said, I'll go out for dinner with friends and, once in a while. And sure, it's not good for me. However, it doesn't take away all the good work that I've done previously. So as long as you mostly follow paleo, then you should be good. Improve your diet. Oh, I didn't even finish the passage because I got all excited. Anyway, while concurrently addressing the possibility with your doctor of gradually reducing your dependence on medication based on favorable blood test results. Yes. Okay, so I'm glad I read the rest of that because I do talk to my doctor quite extensively about everything. I've signed up. I'm in BC, so we have Life Labs. You can get your a login and you can look at your blood work. I know doctors mostly don't encourage you to Google things. So just remember, when you do look things up, take it with a grain of salt and get it from more than one resource. I take everything with a grain of salt and try and get more information on anything that I try to learn about, because there's a lot of people that, even me, like the stuff that I'm reading you right now. I mean, I'm reading it from the book, and I've told you what book I'm getting it from. And certainly there's more information to be gleaned from this book than what I'm sharing with you. But yeah, you can look at your blood work ahead of time. I talk to my doctor about what I'm eating. He's fully aware of what I'm doing. And we were always discussing ways to help with my blood work and stuff. So yes, certainly being involved with your own health is key to being healthy. So then the next passage is, I strongly recommend that you give yourself permission to eat as much as you want whenever you want for the rest of your life. While this suggestion might scare the heck out of you, releasing yourself from restriction and deprivation enables you to become more connected with your physical nutritional needs rather than being driven by emotional triggers. And then I'll just read the next passage. Reject feelings of anxiety, guilt, or rebellion connected to your food choices and replace them with the idea that you deserve to eat the most delicious, nutritious foods possible. Yes, our views of food are connected to our appearance, how we live, and who we are. And that is just simply not the case. Food is there to keep us alive. Certainly, we would like to enjoy it, and we shouldn't feel guilty about it at all, regardless. Even if you don't follow paleo or anything, certainly I'm not promoting poor health, but really, I mean, if you want to be happy, and then don't make it an emotional decision. If you're feeling poorly, find out why, your doctor, get blood work done, and then see where you go from there. And I certainly don't restrict myself. Paleo is very satisfying. And there's a lot of food that can be eaten. I mean, everybody, they're like, oh, paleo, no packaged food. What are we going to eat? Well, you know what? It's all on the outside of the store. The middle of the store is all packaged food. And then if you go to the outsides and the ends, you find all the vegetables and raw ingredients. And then you make food from there. So we're getting towards the end of the chapter. Yes. So I don't know how many. I have one highlighted passage, and I think that's it. And then it goes into the end of the chapter, which, as I've explained in the other video, it's very handy to, it goes over the chapter, goes over and lets you recap everything that you've read. So the last passage that I have for you today is, if you adopt an extremely disciplined approach for the first 21 days to ditch sugar, grains, and bad oils, you will build momentum toward fat adaptation. This will make it easier over the long term to avoid the backsliding that is so common among dieters, and I fear among primal paleo enthusiasms who try to commit. Yes. So we'll stop off at that. I was going to go to chapter 4, but I think we've covered enough for today. So there we'll pick up at chapter 4 on the next video, because it's been 37 minutes and I can't imagine that this was that exciting. Again, I hope it's more informative than anything, because I really do enjoy this book and what it has to offer, and just paleo in general. It's been very good for my health. So now we'll go into personal stuff. That's the end of the new Primal Blueprint review and highlights. And then the next video I will go to chapter 4 and possibly 5. We'll see how many highlights I have from those chapters. So for me personally, what's going on right now is I have some health issues. I'm disabled, obviously I have health issues, but I have a thing called complex regional pain syndrome, and you can Google that. Basically, it's your nerves telling your body that your limb is in trauma, and it's not. It's just nerve pain. So it just started a little while ago, and I've gotten a referral from my doctor to another doctor that has helped me out with this issue before. Basically, my right leg, it seems, always has this pain, and it can only be quieted by basically numbing my leg, so I can't feel it. And then over a few sessions, the nerves quiet down, and my brain isn't trying to fix my leg, which becomes a vicious cycle. It's like feedback when you get it with music, that loud squeal. Yeah, the squeal is the pain. So it just keeps going back and forth, and they don't have any cure for it. But anyway, I'm all right now. It's just started. So I'm on painkillers, and I've talked to my doctor about it, and so we'll go from there. So that's what's happening with that. I also, back to paleo now, I have bought an Instant Pot, and I thought it was called Instapot, but it's Instant Pot. And I will be posting on Instagram my pictures of what I made, but I put aside the book, and so the book that comes, there is a manual as well. I didn't bring that, but this is the recipe book. And then this page here is very handy. Just let me put the little recipe book down for now. This cooking timetable page is very handy. Hopefully you can see that. But it tells you all about the things, and I didn't realize how it worked until I used it. And I made 3 roasts in one afternoon for 2 hours. 3 roasts in 2 hours. That was amazing, and all well done. Don't add a lot of water because it's pressure cooker. I discovered, like maybe a tablespoon of any kind of liquid or oil that you're using, and that's it. That's all you need. So just to briefly, meat and eggs, it says beef, like I just said, the 3 roasts that I fit in. I have a 6-quart version. There's a 3 and an 8, as far as I understand. 3 would be good for personal use, like if you're alone. And 6 is good as my husband and I, mostly made for my paleo. And then 8 would be good for, like, people with family with 2 or more kids, I would think. Anyway, just to briefly say, you can do asparagus in 1 to 2 minutes. You can do beef, where was I, 20 minutes, and that's per 450 grams or a pound. So for every pound, it's 20 minutes in the slow cooker. You can do large eggs, 5 minutes, and I assume the whole dozen. You can do a whole chicken in 8 minutes. That's 1 pound per pound. You do it 8 minutes for every pound. And let's see, what else do we have? One more thing just before I sign off, because we're going on 40 minutes here, and I'm sure you're sick of me. Kidney beans. Dry, 20 to 25 minutes, or if you've soaked them, 7 to 8 minutes. And lobster, you can do, I love lobster. Lobster is in 2 to 3 minutes. And also shrimp is 1 to 3 minutes. And who else is yummy? Let's see, but I don't eat beans. I just realized what I said. Anyway, for those non-paleo people, beans, I don't eat lentils or seeds. So that was just for you folks. And then there's rice. I don't eat rice or quinoa or any of that stuff, or oatmeal. So basically all of page 2, except for the seafood area, is for me. Otherwise, the other side is veggies and meat, and then seafood. So yeah, you can do sweet potatoes in 12 to 15 minutes. So good to know. So that I've had fun with the Instant Pot, and I'll post some things that I've made or recipes that I have been interested in. And I will, I'll put a link to the Instant Pot on Amazon, but it's not where I bought it. If you live in BC in the lower mainland, I went to Best Buy and I got it for $89, and that was the lowest price I could find for it around. So I don't know if it's still on sale, but that's where you can get it for $89, is at Best Buy. And I don't know, I guess if people price check or compare, then I guess you could go to other places and go, you can get it for that and, get a better deal. Anyway, I don't think I have any links below. I'll copy my description from my last video. And as I said, I'll put a link to the Instant Pot on Amazon just because we're online here. But like I said, lower mainland, you can get it at Best Buy for $89 last time I heard. Thank you for listening. I hope it wasn't too boring. And I will do a next video sooner than I did this time. But it was the health issues that were kind of holding me back. So now that I know what's going on, I should be able to do a little bit smoother and more on schedule, I would like to. All right. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Bye.